Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of Scott Schilling Speaks. I'm your host, Scott Schilling. It's going to be a fun show today because I've got a great friend, the author of the book, Never in Your Wildest Dreams, over in the other corner over there, and host of the Inspiration Show, co-founder of Mind Movies, and so much more. Natalie Ledwell, thanks for joining us here on Scott Schilling Speaks.
Hi, Scott. It's so great to be here. No, I was just pointing to this is the cover of the book. One year, my family, when the book came out, I was sent a galley and I was back in Australia with the family for Christmas. And so my family took the cover from that book that they all had read, so their DNA is on that, and put it in a little frame for me, which was really sweet. So
that's really nice. I love that. I can tell you've got that Southern California accent going.
Well, I'm from a little further south than California.
A little further south? Well, let's explore that a little bit. Now, you knew at a very young age there was more.
Yeah.
Tell me how you knew that.
I don't know. I remember often feeling frustrated that adults weren't listening to me when I was a kid. I'm like, wait a minute, but doesn't everyone know this stuff? It was interesting. And I'm one of 8 kids. So I was a very precocious, very confident, child when I was younger, and I always in, the school plays, the top of my classes and all that kind of thing. And life kind of seemed to be a little easy for me. I was doing very well, and it's like, but it was interesting because I always had this knowing. Like I would listen or hear something, I just know it to be true. And you don't think about that so much as a kid, and especially when you're one of 8 and you're doing your best and you're surviving. But I know that when I left home and left, my hometown that I grew up in and moved to Sydney, that very quickly, like I was managing fitness clubs at the age of 21. I was introduced to personal development, Brian Tracy cassettes back when I was 21 years old. So I was always hungry for that, and I was always searching for more and wanting to be better, do better, and I was, had my own businesses by the time I was 25. So, and I've been in that situation ever since.
Well, I think that's a big key. I think I got into personal development very early as well. I remember telling Ziglar, I read See You at the Top when I was 17 years old, and there was a quote in that book, "Forever changed my life. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want."
Right.
So it's interesting how that path gets formed for us. Well, you fast forward a little bit, you are the co-founder of Mind Movies. What's Mind Movies?
Yeah. So a mind movie is like a vision board. So back in 2006, when The Secret had just came out, and everyone was talking about the law of attraction, and part of the formula on how to manifest things is to be able to visualize and see yourself already in the future that you want to create. And our friend John Assaraf had a whole segment there where he talked about the vision boards that he created. And then a few years later realized he was actually living in the house that was on his board he had created years before. So a mind movie is really like the movie version. So it's affirmations, photos, and music together. And we came up with the idea after The Secret had just been on Oprah, and everyone's, talking about visualizing, and a friend of, so I was actually started the company with my ex-business partner, my ex-husband, and myself. My ex-husband and I are still business partners. We're still running the business together, but come up with this brilliant little idea of creating these movies. And from there, we, put up a little website, had a little video on YouTube, and we're getting that many emails within months of people going, "This is changing my life." We're like, okay, we need to get serious about this, because we knew nothing about the internet. I didn't even understand how people were finding the video on YouTube to go into the website. I'm like, I don't even know how that works. But, from there, we started to buy programs, and we came to the US and joined a mastermind group, an internet marketing mastermind group, and kind of became sponges to learn everything that we needed to launch Mind Movies to the world. So that was back in 2008.
Now 5.8 million, and I'm sure the number has grown way past that, lives that you've touched with all this. How does that feel to impact that many people?
It's humbling. I don't for one moment think that I was the one that did that. Yes, we have this, amazing program, and and I'm able to teach people, empower people how to change their own lives. And thank goodness my partner, ex-husband, is fantastic at marketing, so he's really great at helping people find us. And then once we've found them, I'm like, right, here's everything that you need. So it is exceptionally humbling. And it often it brings me to tears. And it's also the reason why most days I wake up and I'm still pinching myself going, seriously, is this my life? That I get to live my life that I feel like is on purpose and fulfilling a mission and really getting to help people around the world. And it's probably the most meaningful thing that I could do with my life. And I'm so grateful for it every single day.
Yeah, it's really just, it's exciting to be in that place, to be able to do that, and working to do that with Scott Schilling Speaks. It's really designed to be able to share messages of hope and inspiration, and teach and train others to do the same.
Yeah.
We can build some pretty good respect and honor and dignity around the world if we kind of band together and do some of this.
Yeah, well, and I think too, I think the reason that we have such a big following is because I speak a lot from personal experience. Like I mentioned before, we launched My Movies in 2008. Well, there's quite a story that goes with that event. We risked everything. We racked up $120,000 on credit cards just to get this off the ground. And of course, the launch fell in the middle of the biggest economic crisis that the planet had ever seen. So it could have gone either way. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. It's like to say that we had to have a positive attitude and go, right, you see ourselves on the other side of that and watch that Mind movie every day, seeing us already being successful and the launch already being a great success. We had to keep in that place and always have the attitude. There's always a solution to every challenge. And it's kind of like the universe is going, really? Well, let me test that for you. Here's another challenge. And what are you going to do with this? So we just had to develop that resilience, along the way. So a lot of what I teach really does come from my own personal experience. And it's things that I embody myself. I'm not just, giving lip service to concepts that I think are great. These are things that I actually embody and do myself all the time.
Well, I think that's what really brings the authentic self to play. I often share from stage that, experience is a great teacher, but it's a very expensive teacher. Better to borrow it if you can from somebody else, right?
Absolutely.
But again, I did I know for my coaching clients and folks, I created 5 questions to ask in any situation to turn it from a negative event to a learning event. Right. What's the lesson? What's the gift? What did I do to create it? How would I modify it next time and make it better? How's this going to serve me the rest of my life?
Right.
To really take these, and I think it's always funny. Boy, you're another overnight sensation. Everybody I have on the show is an overnight sensation. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't exactly happen that way, does it?
Oh no. And and that's we're talking about Mind Movies. Like Glen and I had so many businesses before that with varying levels of success. But like you were saying, you ask every time you have a failure, which I don't necessarily see as a failure, it's time to kind of reflect and go, okay, well, how did I contribute to this? What am I meant to learn? Like all of those questions. And when I look at the success that we've created with Mind Movies, I can trace back like little breadcrumbs all the way through the different businesses that we had, the experience that we had, the lessons that we learned, so that we could be prepared for the opportunity that Mind Movies was, and also that we could recognize the opportunity that it was. When we were first approached, Glen and I already had 4 businesses we were running simultaneously, and Glen couldn't even turn on a computer. I hadn't even heard of YouTube, and that's where we started from. But, because of our life experience and all the business experience we had before that, it's like, but I can see how this could be very powerful. So what do we need to learn to be able to move forward? And it stopped us from, making a lot of other mistakes along the way.
So you recognize that you didn't even know what YouTube was, or that Glen couldn't turn on a computer. What actions did you take, or what decisions did you have to make that next move forward?
Yeah. So our business partner, the friend that approached us with the idea, he goes, "It's all right, I'll teach you." So in the beginning, I think the only skill set that I could, offer was I could write the emails. I've always been pretty good at writing. So and even Glen and I started doing that together, which was disastrous. I'm like, okay, how about we do this? I write it, then you do whatever you want with it. And we move forward. But then we would just go through and I think lynda.com was the big website back then.
Yeah.
Where if you bought a program, you could go and watch the instructional videos. I mean, this is how we taught ourselves. The day that Ryan came to me and said, "Okay, I need you to learn how to edit videos," I'm like, okay. Now I knew how to use Word and Excel and bookkeeping. That's the only reason I had a computer. So I opened up this program and go, whoa, what am I even looking at here? So I just went to the help menu, and every time I needed something, I just go there and try and figure it out, or I go to lynda.com. And, so you just do what you have to do. The thing is, we were so clear about where it was that we were going to end up. And, and the My Movie that we created, especially when we were launching My Movies to the world, was talking about, the amount of customers we had, the type of customers, the money we were generating, what our life looked like. So, vacations, where we're taking our families, the lovely restaurants we were eating at. And we even talked about like the respect we were getting from our peers, and like they had this comprehensive description of what our life looked like. And even when we were super stressed, we leave the apartment that we're working 10 hours a day in, go grab a coffee, go down to the dog park, or the dog beach in San Diego, and kind of get into a higher frequency, or a better emotion. And then from there, we'd have these little conversations as if the launch was already done. So to say that we were very clear about what that looked like and what it felt like and how we were showing up in that is what kind of helped us through all of the challenges that we were facing along the way. And of course, my life now is far exceeds anything I could have possibly dreamed up back then. So, I think having a clear vision of where it is that you want to end up is what helps you to keep moving through all those roadblocks.
Well, I think that's a fantastic tip, and it's far more than a tip. I think that's the reality. Most people don't get into the clarity of where they want to go. And I think, there's a lot of folks that share the metaphor of, well, a GPS is wonderful, but you got to tell it where you want to go.
Right.
It'll get you there. But I think law of attraction and the mind movies and everything, that is the one thing, knowing you guys for a fairly long time now.
Yeah.
You guys were always extremely clear with that. How do we help convince people that that's a big part of this is knowing where you want to go? It's hard to get someplace if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
Or where you want to go.
And sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out what that is or what that looks like. I have worked with Dr. Joe Dispenza for like 9 years at his advanced workshops. And I've personally been there helping thousands of people make their own mind movie. And how important it is when you sit with someone, you give them instructions, they make their mind movie, then they watch it for the first time and they're moved to tears. And I don't know how many times, it's countless amount of times that's happened, because for the first time, they can see it. They like, wow, this movie really is my life. This is what I want. And so, when I talk about describing this future, we use affirmations. And the reason we use affirmations is because when you read the affirmation or, watch your movie, you want to be able to go into your mind and see it as if it's already happening now, which is why we use present tense affirmations for that. So when your affirmations, you want to make sure you're describing what it is that you want. So the relationship, the money, the health, the whatever it is that you're going for, as if you already have it. You want to describe what life looks like when you get there, because that's kind of the fuel for your visualizations. You want to be able to put yourself in a moment that's going to happen once you've achieved this, and feel, sense, smell, see everything that's happening in that moment, and make it so real inside your mind that your subconscious actually thinks it's happening now, and helps to change your thoughts. So really describe what life looks like once you've got this goal. You also want to list why, because your why is your motivation. It's that fuel to make you keep going. If there's any kind of actions or things that you need to start doing, I always add them in my mind movie because it helps me to see myself already completing those tasks, like it's already done, which makes it easier for me to do them. And then the last type of affirmation, which is really important, is how do I need to change the way I think to become this person or to step into this life? Because, our thoughts create things. We know that from The Secret. And if my thoughts have created the reality that I'm in right now, how do I need to change the way I think to step into this new reality? So how does a wealthy person think? Or if I'm aware of all these, negative thoughts and limiting beliefs that are coming up, and I'm choosing to release those because they no longer serve me, well, what am I replacing those with? Because we can decide like, that's it, I don't want to think that anymore. But unless we've already pre-organized or predetermined what we're replacing those thoughts with, it can be difficult for us to release that because, nature abhors a vacuum. So, we'll just go back into default. So having those things already kind of written out and you're, visualizing and seeing yourself operating from these new thought paradigms, taking these new actions, living this life as if it's already happening. I mean, it's the key. It's the big key, and then of course, taking action to make sure everything, create momentum and make it happen.
Yeah, it's actually exactly what I did or have been doing and will continue to do with this show. I was doing 5 days a week, having a blast, had great guests, had plenty of people. That wasn't an issue, but I didn't feel it was helping enough people or inspiring enough or doing whatever. So I chose to modify the show to greater lengths because there are too many people that need to be touched. And I know you've got a show, 80 million households.
Yeah.
Is your target?
Well, that was a show that it was a cable TV show that it was on. It was called Wake Up TV. And it was kind of like The View, but consciously aware. So I guess for people like Don Miguel Ruiz and Jack Canfield we had a short run, but that show got into 80 million households, which was amazing. And unfortunately it didn't go any further than that, but you're right, like looking at opportunities that come up like that. And I remember I got an email from two women going, we want you for this show. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. And I deleted it because I'm like, sure, and then they reached out, no, we're serious, we really want to talk to you. And then when we started chatting, it kind of came about. But I'm the same, like any way that we can, like through the podcast or through our platform, and any way that we can reach more people with Scott, you and I know that these principles are very easy to implement when you know what they are. And when you are in a community or somewhere that you can, have some support and have some accountability, which is what we do. And, like I was saying before, I don't change people's lives. They change their own lives.
Right.
But, when you're in that right environment and you've got the right information, you can achieve anything that you want.
So I know that you've done so many things and helped so many people that way. And I know you've got a big initiative now that's really where your heart is headed, or landed right now and headed for the future. PD for Kids. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I created a little 12-lesson program to go with the My Movies for Kids program for schools. And I remember thinking, this is great. I actually got help to do that. And then everyone kept asking, well, what's after the 12 lessons? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, and I remember because I do a new My Movie at the beginning of every year. And I realized that I carried everything over from the previous year into this next My Movie. I'm like, okay, I need to choose one thing. I'm thinking, well, it's not going to be the kids program because, I'm not qualified to do that. It's going to be, and I'm like, oh, a new TV show, because I was talking some executives. I'm like, that sounds way sexier. I think I'll do that. But then a girlfriend of mine reached out who has 2 master's degrees and said, look, we need to do this program. Kids are hurting. We need to help. I'm like, okay, it's the kids program. So anyway, we created a full curriculum. It's K to 12, social emotional learning, but it's a whole child approach. So it's anti-bullying, it's suicide prevention, it's building self-esteem. We have yoga, we have meditation. We've made it super easy for teachers to be able to teach this in the classroom because they just have to press a play button on the video and then take the kids through their exercises. So we have been getting astounding results with this particular program. And it's global. It's not just the US, but we have been working here in the US. Australia's we've got our eyes on Australia next. And we've been working in Liberia, Africa. And
Wow.
the results we're seeing there is just off the charts. So yeah, so it's definitely my next project. And the whole world is in an anxiety right now. So if it's not about the masks or the vaccine or the pandemic or whatever that is, and we just seem to be in such a place of uncertainty that this is what kids are experiencing right now. And unless they helped and know how to regulate their emotions and how to shift their moods and do these other things that are really healthy for emotional intelligence, it's very difficult for them to navigate through a time like this. So this is what we're all about.
Totally feel how important it is for our kids today, going through something that none of us have gone through, and now we anticipate this whole generation of kids going through something that they've never done. So what's the vision for the PD for Kids program?
So it's called Personal Growth Studies, which is the updated version. And, our goal is to be in schools globally. There are a lot of social emotional learning curriculums here in the US, so we've got a lot of competition. We are a little unique in the fact that we are a whole child approach, and the way that we are able to digitally, be able to supply the curriculum and all the support that we offer, and connecting teachers all over the world so that they can exchange ideas and so forth. But yeah, we want to be in schools globally. So my goal for this year is to be 50 schools at the start of the new school year. So
it's interesting. What just hit me intuitively is the pandemic is actually conspiring for your good with this program because of all the at-home learning and distance learning programs that have had to be put in, that you don't have to put in now. I mean, the kids, at least in this area, have been given laptops and have been given computers and the capability to do their studies via the internet. What a great way for the world or for the universe to conspire to serve you.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just the kids that we're serving. We're also, doing a lot of support for the teachers, and some education for parents as well. And I know that a lot of the parents that I've been speaking to, they're going, oh my God, I really need to learn how to regulate my emotions. Like there's a lot of the things that we're teaching kids that could really help parents in this really unusual and stressful time that we're living in right now.
How do we help share the message to make sure that people, number one, know the program's available and to reach out to you to start putting it in action? I mean, it's great that it's there. They got to take the action though.
Well, the website is personalgrowthstudies.com. So you get a lot of information about the program there. But if you are interested in having me talk to the school that your children go to, if you just email me at natalie@mymovies.com is the easiest way to get hold of me. And then that way we can connect and reach out to the school. So, I mean, there's a lot of schools that are looking for this kind of program now. There's a lot of states that have mandates that are like, you need to have, a mental health program of some kind. So it's, like you said, unfortunately, the pandemic has created this storm. It's actually accelerated what was already there. Right. And so now we're looking and we have the solution to be able to help.
What type of groups or are there any child service organizations that would be beneficial to connect you with or to help forward this initiative?
Normally, really what we're looking for at the moment is schools, because it is set up for a school situation, and it's also able to be taught remotely over Zoom as well. So for each of the lessons, if it was an exercise that was done in the classroom, we also have a paragraph like, if you're doing this on Zoom and teaching remotely, this is how you do that particular exercise. So, we have it all set up for that. But, if you know any teachers, principals, superintendents, even if it's someone who's in charge of mental health at, your child's school, we'd love to get connected and see if there's some way that we could serve.
That's awesome. how, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
All right.
What's your goal for how many children do you want to touch in 2022?
A touch appropriately. No, just joking.
Of course.
Yeah, no, we at this, my goal for 2022 is 50 schools that we have here in the US. And then we're going to be looking at, Australia after that. So, 50 schools is my goal, which can be, thousands of children, depending on the size of the school, the size of the district that we're working with. So that's my big stretch goal for this year.
How about languages?
Languages? Yeah, I mean, we're always open to that. For me, it's because we're just on the springboard and springing into this. We have a few schools here in the US. Obviously, we want a whole lot more. I want to try and make sure that we have it up and running and the kinks ironed out, and that we have the support system and everything in place before we start, spreading our energy wide. So, that's kind of my focus for this year.
Oh, that's very cool. No, I think it's number one, I remember when we first started talking about your kids program, and the kids seem to be coming through things okay at the time, but I don't know that they are today. They've got to be fairly confused at this point.
Oh yeah. I even was watching last night on Netflix, I was watching Queer Eye, which is the 5 gay guys come in and do the whole transformation. Well, they were actually working on a prom, and this was in Austin, Texas. And actually I was crying nearly all the way through this particular show because, there was one student who had just moved to Austin. So, but beginning of 2020. So she had not physically met any of her classmates.
Wow.
Just the challenges that they face. And of course, these were more Latino children. Most of these kids worked as well as going to school and trying to do all their classes remotely. And the physical and mental toll that it took on all of them, and they all had a different story. It was just heartbreaking, and that's one class. You can imagine this whole new generation that are coming through. But it also gives us the opportunity, if given, again, if we can get the information to them, to teach them resilience. You think about it, our, future leaders, our future president, our future government is in school right now.
Right.
And if we can reach them with these tools and these habits and these skills to be able to navigate through life with so much confidence and self-esteem, and the ability to be able to regulate their emotions and to set their own personal standards and to really have a strong sense of who they are and how they show up in the world, then, it gives us a lot of optimism for the future.
Well, I think that's very true. The kids of today are the future for tomorrow. And you said it's interesting. I was at lunch with my daughter yesterday. It was my little girl, but she's 32, for goodness sake. How does that happen?
In the blink of an eye, I've heard.
Yeesh. And we were talking about just some of the changes and things. And we were commenting about athletics. She's tremendously athletic still to this day. And she said, man, I'm so glad that she was so glad that she had so many opportunities that, quite frankly, with the pandemic and everything, the kids are not having right now. And programs have gone away, and their ability to be together and socialize and do all that. So the need for what you're doing is phenomenal. I congratulate you. I applaud you for your efforts, and certainly here at Scott Schilling Speaks, we want to do whatever we can to help share the word.
Thank you so much. And a sense of belonging is a very integral part of a child's development. And it is definitely being challenged right now with this situation. So yeah, it's something like personal growth studies. It's, a great program to be able to, incorporate that as well, and help kids hit all of their developmental, benchmarks that they need to, in a really good way.
That's awesome. So the best way for everybody to get a hold of you again?
To email me directly is natalie@mymovies.com. And to check out about the curriculum, if you go to personalgrowthstudies.com, you'll find all the information there.
Perfect. Natalie, it's hard to believe our time has run through already, but really appreciate it.
Not really. Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, that's true. That's true. We'll have to do this again. We'll get an update on how many schools we've gotten everything into, and continue to do what we can do to help along the way. Thank you for being the guest here today. Greatly appreciate you.
Thank you, Scott. Always a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
Thank you. And thank you for being here at Scott Schilling Speaks today. We'll see you again at the next event. God bless. Have a great day.